Welcome back to another episode of Don't Waste the Chaos. I'm so excited for today's episode because this is something I get asked about all of the time. I literally got asked about it earlier today. And so I thought, why don't I just sit down and think this through and put an episode together? I get asked about my wellness routine all the time. And this is an interesting one to me because I don't think that it's because people don't know what to do. I think it's because it's hard to do it. It's not because we have a lack of tips out there. It's because we have a mindset that keeps us stuck. So today I'm going to walk you through the practical rhythms that ground me. And then I'm going to pull back the curtain on why most people struggle to implement them, sometimes myself included. This episode's going to lay the foundation for the way I'm going to show up moving forward, whether it's on this podcast or in my collectives, which are in my membership programs. I'm going to work on the practical items that people need to know, but then I'm going to work on the mindset piece because I think a lot of times we're pumping out there the practical information, but then you're left to figure out how to apply it. And so many times we're not even in the right mindset to be able to apply it. So we're going to jump in on this today, and I'm really excited about this new format. So I just want to first share that none of this happened with my wellness journey overnight. This is the result of years of small pivots that became a part of my identity, not just part of my schedule. So I want to break this down into easy to absorb buckets. That is nutrition and hydration, movement and fitness, rest and rhythm, mind and soul, and lifestyle and boundaries. That's really, if you want to talk about wellness to me, you're going to get so much more than, oh, this is how much I lift every day. It's all in buckets, and all of this matters to me greatly. And so I can't just talk to you about my weighted vest without talking to you about my hydration. While I pause and take a drink. So I'm going to walk you through all of these, and I hope you listen to them all. Some of them are going to apply to you more than others, but they're all very important. The first one around nutrition and hydration. I'm just going to kind of run through some things that I've done. I have greatly lowered my alcohol intake, you all. And I know if your algorithm's anything like mine, there are tons of influencers out there that are talking about the poison that is alcohol. And I am going to be frank. I just got back from Big Sky, Montana. I actually woke up there yesterday and it was snowing. It was so beautiful. And then I woke up in my house this morning and it's 100 heat index in Missouri. But I've got to be honest, I am a Four Seasons kind of gal, so I love the summer too. But anyway, I drank plenty of red wine while we were in Montana. While we were in Red Lodge with friends, I drank beer. I mean, I'm not saying I never drink alcohol, but I have greatly lowered my alcohol intake. I was talking to my husband about this while we were driving through Yellowstone. We had a lot of time with no service, and neither one of us downloaded music to our phones. And so it was silent, which, bless my heart, is one of my favorite things, but that's not really what my husband does. We did a lot of talking. And one of the things that I told him was from the age of, I'm going to say 14, as far as like when I first had my first drink of alcohol, but really from the age of 17, which is when I moved out of my parents' house and moved away to college, from 17 to probably 27, maybe even 29, but I'm going to say 27. So a decade. I drank alcohol a lot. I got what I would say drunk almost every week during that time span. If you take 52 times 10, we're talking about a lot. This is brain damage that I've experienced. This is organ damage, my liver, and we joke around about that stuff. But the truth is, now that I'm almost 43, I really, really give a crap about that. I wish I wouldn't have done that. And I've been doing a lot of things to reverse some of that damage, and time is healing, but I was so rough on myself. I am so glad to see the younger generation is not hitting the alcohol like we were. Now, I don't exactly know what's going to happen with plant medicine and Molly and, all of that stuff, and how many people are using SSRIs now. Like, there's still damage being done. But my point is, when it comes to alcohol, people are getting more informed about that. And so if you are a millennial like me or older, you likely still probably drink with regularity. And I'm not saying don't ever drink. I'm just saying maybe take a long, hard look at your frequency of drinking. I listened to a podcast episode the other day that talked about really what the damage points were at each level, if you would. And really, really informative. And the truth of the matter is our quantity sizes, just like in food, are way too high when it comes to alcohol. We're just drinking too much, too often. So just something for you to think about. I'm not saying never. Just think about lowering your alcohol intake. That's been a huge part of my health and wellness. I also am rarely eating out. If we're traveling, obviously we're eating out. But when we are at home in Missouri, we're eating out much less often than we used to. It was normal for me to eat out sometimes 2 meals a day. And you could say like, oh, make great choices or whatever. I was drinking more alcohol because I was eating out. And also it was so easy to get the appetizer or, like get the ranch because their ranch here is homemade or whatever it is. So rarely eating out has helped a ton for me. I also prioritize high quality whole foods, local when possible. Get my eggs from a girl down the gravel road from me. But that has been huge. I am obviously on the sourdough wagon. If you follow me on social media, you see that. I also drink structured water. So I've got my water bottle here. I always have this with me. I drink at least 2 of these a day, sometimes 3, and I do structured water. So in here is my water. We use reverse osmosis also because the water quality really, really matters. And then I add minerals to mine. I add chlorophyll, and I also always add lemon essential oil because I like the way it tastes. I also have eliminated caffeine. And I know, again, like the alcohol thing, so many of you are going to be like, number one, you must not have liked coffee that much. That's untrue. I did this for anxiety management. If you've listened to my ads here on the show, one of my affiliate ads is Magic Mind. And I tell the story about I was in therapy years and years ago. I was really struggling. I was actually having panic attacks. And as a first ditch effort, because I wasn't ready to get on medication. I didn't want to, if I could avoid it at all. The first thing I did was try to sleep more, yoga. I was trying to manage my cortisol. But then my therapist at the time said, maybe try to eliminate caffeine. It's a stimulant. And I've never gone back. I've learned that's a really big deal for me. So alcohol, eating out, high quality whole foods, sourdough, structured water, and caffeine. That's my nutrition and hydration hacks, if you will. And these are all ones that you've heard before. That was nothing monumental. I'm just doing it. And we'll get to the mindset piece. Next is movement and fitness. I shoot for 10,000 steps a day. That's as a goal. And I use a weighted vest pretty often. I weigh somewhere between 160 and 170 pounds. So I bought a 20-pound weighted vest. You can Google it and, ask AI or whatever, how heavy of a vest that you should get based on your body weight. 20 pounds based on my goals was the right thing to do. And so I don't do it every single walk because I don't want anything to feel forced. But in general, I walk with a weighted vest and I shoot for 10,000 steps a day. Am I saying that some days I hit 7 or 8,000? Yeah. And that's okay. I also really pay attention to my cycle, my menstrual cycle, which I'll talk more about. But in general, I'm shooting for those 10,000 steps a day. And I've just learned that's the best thing for me. Helps with my rest too. Movement is a part of my life. It's not a punishment any longer. I used to look at it as like, got to go to the gym because I ate this, or got to go to the gym because I'm going to do this or drink this or eat this or whatever. I don't look at it like that anymore. I also lift weights. I mentioned I'm almost 43. This is a big deal as we age. My mom has osteoporosis. I'm very cognizant of that, which is another reason why I got the weighted vest. Other than lifting weights, I do a ton of body resistance. And when I say that, I mean, I'm doing it with regularity and organically. When my husband and I are sitting on the front porch, it is very normal for me to do 3 sets of 10 squats. That's just very normal. While we're chit-chatting, I just want to sit on the front porch and chill. But before I sit on the front porch, I'll do 3 sets of 10 squats. I also do lunges and push-ups. I like body resistance stuff. I'm personally a yoga girl. I do like Pilates as well. I do like to lift weights, but body resistance is so easy because you're with your body all the time. You don't have to go find some weights or keep the weights in a certain place if you care about the aesthetics of your look or whatever. You just have to use your body resistance. I also do red light therapy and infrared sauna weekly, at least twice a week for me. And I use my gua sha when I'm in it. So I'm doing that on my face. That helps with my skin. I also have a vibration plate, an acupuncture mat. I get a massage monthly. So those are all the things that I incorporate into my movement and my fitness with regularity. The next is rest and rhythms. So I use my Oura Ring. You all see me wear this all the time. And I do have a code if you want to get 10% off. I use my Oura Ring to monitor my readiness scores, my recovery, and my menstrual cycle awareness. And I do the rhythms of my life around my menstrual cycle now. It's not something I ever did before, but there's a ton of data that has come out around intermittent fasting and whether that's good or bad during certain types of your menstrual cycle. Same thing with pushing yourself in workouts, paying attention to the phases that you're in and not pushing yourself every single day and honoring your body. You're going to build trust with yourself and your body's going to thank you for it. I also make sure I get sunlight directly into my eyes every morning. I ground, which means I kick my shoes off and I stand in the grass for a little bit. I don't time myself on any of these. I just go out and I stretch in the sunlight, usually in my jammies, when I first wake up, and I flitter my eyes open toward the sun. And then while I'm doing that, I'll also step out into the grass. At night, we dim lights. I use my salt lamps at night. So I try to eliminate all regular lighting so we can get into our circadian rhythm. I burn natural scents. So I've got like these rhythms that I do to tell my body it's night time. So I'm either burning Palo Santo or cedar eucalyptus or lavender. Yes, I use incense like I used to back in the 80s. And here it is, 2025, and I'm using incense again. I've got a cute little holder that my friend Bonnie bought me. And I love burning that. And my husband, he says it's like an aphrodisiac because he knows we're getting ready to go to bed. But for me, I just know like we're chilling out. We've got the nice scent going. We've got the salt lamp going. I'm doing my nighttime routine and my body starts to unwind. And if it wasn't for the Oura Ring, I wouldn't have ever realized like this routine actually physically changes the way my heart's beating, the way I'm breathing, and it helps me prepare for bed so I can have a better recovery overnight. I talked about stretching with the sunlight, but that's really important to me and it's not anything big. I keep thinking I'm on YouTube, so I want to get up and do my exercises in front of you, but I'm happy to send you exactly what it is I do. It's pretty low key, but that gentle movement's really important. Next area is mind and soul. I read the Bible with my son every day. I know a lot of people are like, dang, it's hard to read the Bible. It's hard. It's complicated. I just read it every day. We read a chapter every day. And that's even more than you need to. You could read a verse every day. You could really, there's so much depth to the Bible. You could literally read a verse and meditate on it and still have so many complex thoughts about that. But we read a chapter together every day. It has taken us a couple of years and we're not even halfway through the Bible. There's no pressure. I pray to God. I'm a God, Jesus, Holy Spirit kind of girl. Whatever your religion or whatever, we're not racing to the finish line on this. So this is just a part of our rhythms. I also journal. I have my gratitude practice, which is with my mala that I had custom made. I invest in quality time with my pets. Why would we have pets if we're not going to spend quality time with them? There's tons of data that shows that that brings peace to our soul. I also use plant medicines and peptides. I use supplements. You've heard me talk about Ro, Gym. I use Symbiotica. And then I mentioned earlier my monthly massage. That's a self-care ritual as well. And then the last area when it comes to my wellness routines is lifestyle and boundaries. And I have really worked on healthy relationships with clear boundaries, whether that's friends or family. I have worked to underwhelm my schedule. I used to be freaking booked minute to minute and every single lunch meeting and dinner meetings and happy hours and balls and galas and every weekend was booked. My life is not like that anymore. And yours can be like that too. I have drastically reduced my stress and I have no more, I used to have disordered eating. I have no more food obsession or food punishment. And that's been huge for me. This is my real life, but it wasn't always. So I want to talk about what really changed because that's it. That's my wellness routine. If you've been asking about what my wellness routine is, that's it. I'm not rigid about it. I am honoring my body, but it's taken a while to get here. I want to talk about the deeper problem. It's not about not knowing what to do. Most people don't fail because they don't know what to do. They stay stuck because they believe something about themselves or their life that makes real change out of reach for some reason. A lot of times it's mindsets that sabotage. You've got either all or nothing thinking. If I can't do it perfectly, I won't do it all. Or you've got perfection as protection. So if you fear failing, you don't even begin. Or you've got that identity gap. You're trying to do healthy things while seeing yourself as someone who still struggles. So that's truly just a mindset shift. You've got that busy badge mentality. Being overwhelmed and overcommitted becomes this weird badge of honor in our life. Or you've got unresolved guilt and shame, which we really all do. You overeat or you overdrink or you overextend, and then you punish yourself instead of repairing gently. Or you've got that external validation loop to where you try to get healthy so others will notice, but if they don't, then you quit. So let's talk about what actually helps you shift if any of that's resonating with you. What worked for me wasn't a checklist. It was permission to stop white knuckling everything. I would encourage you to have tiny, repeatable choices, focus on grace over guilt, identity first shifts, like saying things like, I am someone who honors her body, allowing time to take change. Like it's it's going to take a while for you to actually change. So give yourself the time. And then also focus on becoming instead of just achieving. So yes, we always have that end goal in mind, but then we literally are just rushing through the journey. So I want to talk about your mindset shifts that are backed by research and thought leaders, because these are all, it's easy to say like, oh, Kerri just thinks she knows or whatever, but this is actually stuff that I've picked up along the way from others. So the thought that you can end the wrong things to make room for the right things is huge. I am a huge fan of Dr. Henry Cloud. He writes on boundaries. He also has written an excellent book called Necessary Endings. We'll link it in the show notes. And here's the main idea. Growth often requires endings, whether it's endings of behaviors or relationships or thought patterns that are no longer serving us. So stuckness is often the result of refusing to grieve what needs to go. So what happens is we want to just get rid of something. Like, let's say, for example, at work, we get rid of a department or a team, or in our life, we get rid of a relationship, but then we end up right back in another cycle. Maybe it's not the exact same one, but it's a cycle with a new person, or we create a new department or a new project because we never took the time to grieve the one that we just got out of. Endings are not only a part of life, they're a requirement for living and thriving. And that's a quote I took directly from the book, Necessary Endings by Dr. Henry Cloud. So good. I just read it on the flight again. I had read it years ago when I was at an organization and I picked it up again because some personal things I've got going on. So good. So let me give you some practical application here. You want to identify one belief or behavior that needs to end. Like one of the beliefs that I had was I need to be productive all the time. One of the beliefs that I had was that I want to be in a perfect relationship with my sibling. And that's just not happening. First of all, I can't be productive all the time. My body doesn't want me to do that. And my mind doesn't allow me to do that. And then when it comes to my sibling, it's just unrealistic. We're not the same person. So what you need to do is mourn it, name it, and replace it with a new truth. Rest is part of a productive life. Or that perspective that I had with my brother is unrealistic, but I can still enjoy our relationship the way that it is. It's not the way that I wanted it to be, but I can enjoy it the way that it is. So what is something that you're holding on to that once served you, but now sabotages your health, whether it's your physical health or your mental health? That's a huge one. I love that so much. We need to end the wrong things to make room for the right things. Okay, the next thing I want to mention when it comes to the research that I've done is we want to activate identity-based change. And this is something that I learned from Mimi Bouchard. I don't know if you've ever heard of her. I listened to her podcast. Her voice is like butter to me, which is funny because I have people say the same thing about my voice, but people literally say I sound like a sex phone operator from back in the day because my voice is deep. I don't know. Hopefully that's not why you're listening to the podcast, but you know what? Whatever gets listeners, I guess. But Mimi's voice is so soothing. And she actually has an app called Activate. These aren't things that we go inward about. They're literally activations to have movement. So it's really exciting. It's visualization plus emotional rehearsal. And this can rewire your brain to believe a new identity is already yours. You don't have to act your way into a new identity. You can embody it first. Studies in neuroscience have shown that the brain doesn't distinguish well between actual experiences and vividly imagined ones. Dr. Joe Dispenza talks extensively about this as well, and I follow him too. But Mimi's approach that I want to talk about is using guided meditations, which she calls activations, to visualize a future that you already have. And you attach emotion to the identity, not just to the outcome. And then you practice this daily to overwrite the internal operating system. So let me give you a practical application on this. You would create a short visualization of future you. Future you makes good health-based choices with ease and with confidence. Then you repeat this during your day-to-day. I would do this maybe when I'm doing my grounding or my red light therapy, or maybe just when I'm brushing my teeth. And so I say that, I'm a person who chooses what's healthy for my mind and my body. And I do that with ease and with confidence. I'm excited about that for myself. I love the way it makes me feel. Well, just even the way I just said that, like that feels good to me just coming out of my mouth, and it makes it easier for me to make the next right choice. Okay, next we want to talk about building tiny habits that reinforce identity. And as soon as I said the word habits, if you didn't immediately think of James Clear, you have got to pick up his book. It's so good. It's called Atomic Habits. He talks about focusing less on outcomes and more about becoming. So every small action is a vote for the type of person that you want to be. Here's a quote that he said in the book that I love. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. Every action, every single thing that you're doing. So instead of saying, I want to walk 10,000 steps a day, I say, I'm the kind of person who moves my body daily. And you anchor your new habits to existing routines. So when I wake up, I put my contacts in. I generally like to do that, even though what I've read is I should be getting my daily sunlight before I put my contacts in. Like, you know what? I can't do everything perfectly. I put my contacts in, I brush my teeth, and then I walk outside in my PJs. And I know that that's when I'm going to stretch. I'm going to get my sunlight and I'm going to do some grounding. So you want to attach those to existing routines. So what's one small habit that you can do today that would cast a vote for your healthiest self? The next piece I want to talk about, still on habits, is changing your environment to reduce friction. And if you've heard anything from Al-Anon or anything like that, it's still our premise, but we can use this in our day-to-day lives. I love the book, The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. The main idea from that is that habits are largely formed by cues in our environment. So if you want a different behavior, you need to create different surroundings. The practical application on this is to prep food in advance to eliminate decision fatigue, or keep walking shoes and your weighted vest near the door. I keep mine at the back door in a little basket because I want to have it like where I can see it and I can grab it really easy. Use blue light blocking glasses and dimmers to signal evening wind down. Do some kind of triggers. I've done coaching with Dan Martell before in his elite coaching group, and he talks about tying your goals to triggers. So every time I sit down at my desk, my home screen has my goals on it, my financial goals for my business. So as soon as I sit down, I read my goals, and that helps me keep on target for the day. So just attaching your habits to certain triggers will help you in a practical way create different surroundings for yourself. Okay, next let's talk central nervous system. I want you to train your nervous system, not just your brain. And I've had Kelly Howe on the pod a couple of times. She is my EFT coach and emotional freedom technique coach, and does some other coaching with me as well. And I am a very psychologically focused person. I live in my brain a lot. That's just the way that I am wired, not to mention my neurodivergence and my hyper focus and all of that. But what I've learned is talk therapy did a lot for me, but it couldn't do everything because my nervous system was keeping the score. There's a great book called The Body Keeps the Score by Dr. Bessel van der Kolk. And I love this concept. I mean, I don't, I guess to a degree too, because it makes it really hard. But the premise is this: unhealed stress or trauma can keep the body in a fight or flight state, making sustained healthy choices feel threatening or impossible. So you might be like, what the heck? Why do I keep sabotaging myself over and over again? I want this to go better, but for some reason it's not. It literally could be your central nervous system keeping you in fight or flight, so you physically cannot. So what do you do for this? For the practical application side, you can use grounding, you can use breath work. If you have never done somatic breath work, be ready to have your mind blown. Or stretching to signal safety to your nervous system. You can also build in micro moments of calm throughout the day. I already do this through walking barefoot on grass, daily Bible reading, time with my pets. These are all activities that help down-regulate the nervous system. Another thing I notice is when I feel like I'm not getting a good breath, I just need to slow down, and I'll put my hand on my chest and another hand on my tummy, and I'll just take a deep breath in through my nose and out through my mouth, giving an audible sigh. And that just lets my body know, you can calm the F down, sis. And sometimes we just need to force ourselves to do that. It's really healthy. Okay, so let's get into EFT a little bit. I want to talk about clearing emotional resistance and self-sabotage. So I've talked to you about one of the things that I've got in my toolkit, which is EFT, or tapping. You might have heard it called. When I find myself stuck in a loop like resistance to movement, or feeling shame about something I ate, or needing to write for my next book, but not wanting to do it, or ruminating on a conversation that I have with a person, I tap, literally. It's a practice that helps rewire the emotional charge around a behavior. So it's part somatic, part psychological, and honestly, it's helped me get out of my own way. One of the books I've seen is The Tapping Solution by Nick Ortner. And it also includes research by Harvard Medical School, which I love. And it's got a bunch of peer-reviewed studies in there, because I want to throw that out there, because so many of you, there's a bug right there. So many of you are thinking that sounds really woo-woo, or something that I don't want to do, or maybe it sounds anti-Christian to you, or whatever that is. But this is literally Harvard Medical School and peer-reviewed studies have put this out there. EFT works by combining acupressure, which is tapping on meridian points, with cognitive reframing, saying things out loud. This helps regulate the nervous system and release limiting beliefs stored in the body. EFT has been shown to significantly lower cortisol, which is the stress hormone. In a study by Dr. Dawson Church, cortisol dropped by 43% after a single session. EFT is recognized by the American Psychological Association as a treatment approach for anxiety, PTSD, and emotional regulation. And Harvard studies show that tapping on meridian points calms the amygdala and signals the body that it's safe to change. So, you want to do this with me just here for a second? So, pick up your left hand, and your right hand, you're going to tap on the side of your left hand. Repeat this out loud after me. Even though I feel like I failed at being consistent before, I deeply love and accept myself. Let's go to the top of my head. Even though I struggle sometimes to start, I am learning to take small, loving steps. Okay, let's go above the eyebrow. Even though it feels overwhelming sometimes, I know I am safe to try again. That is just a brief script to get things started. You literally just say out loud how you're feeling. And my EFT coach said, even exaggerate it. Say the big things. Say the really big feelings that might sound ridiculous if you said them to anybody else. You're saying them to yourself, and just touch those meridian points. So from the side of the hand, top of the head, top of the eyebrow, side of the eye, under the nose, on the chin, and then under the collarbone and under the underarm. Those are all places I just kind of work my way through that while I'm tapping. And it's amazing how I can ruminate and ruminate and ruminate and ruminate in my head. And if I would just go for a walk and go ahead and say out loud everything that I've been ruminating on, but tap through it, I don't find the need to keep cycling through that in my head again. I feel some release through it. It's amazing. So tapping is huge. I recommend that you give it a try. There's a ton of free resources on YouTube and things like that. Or you're welcome to, of course, to reach out to my coach. She's fabulous and she can work with you virtually. Okay, let's talk about one final thing on the practical side, the research side of how I've come to all of this. Let's talk about self-sabotage. I've mentioned it a little bit. Self-sabotage and emotional incongruence. And this is in a lot of different research, but in the book that Dan Martell, my business coach, wrote, Buy Back Your Time, he says self-sabotage in business and life also stems from a subconscious belief that you're not worthy of more. You're not worthy of more success. You're not worthy of more ease. You're not worthy of more health. You're not worthy of more joy. Specifically, what he said is most entrepreneurs aren't burnt out from doing too much. They're burnt out from doing the wrong things and resisting the emotional growth that comes from letting go. I have worked with so many colleagues who are bright and hardworking, but they are emotional wrecks and they're not working on it. When you grow externally without doing the internal emotional work, your nervous system will find a way to bring you back down to what feels familiar or safe. It's just true. This applies to health and wellness and business and personal life. Dan talks about this in business, but I've seen it in the wellness side of things too. You start drinking more water, eating better, setting boundaries, and then you sabotage it. You pick a fight with your spouse, you binge, you fill your schedule again. Why do we do that? Because the new version of you hasn't fully landed emotionally yet. Your nervous system doesn't recognize peace as safe yet. So what version of success or health are you still scared to trust? And what would happen if you believed ease didn't mean laziness, but it meant alignment? In Dan's book, he encourages identifying the $10 tasks we cling to out of guilt or control. And so we release the $10 tasks so we get to the bigger tasks. We're doing them because we either feel guilty asking somebody else to do them, or we want to control everything. when that's not healthy. Even just me talking about it, you're like, yeah, of course. But then I start digging into your business and you're like, crap, I can't let that go because of the X, Y, and Z. And I can't let that go because of X, Y, and Z. And you're sabotaging yourself. That same principle applies to wellness. We all often hold on to our old versions of ourselves or the old versions of our habits that cost us more than they give us back. So what low level habit are you still holding on to because of fear? What if your resistance wasn't a flaw, but a flag? It's a message from your central nervous system saying, I need safety before I can change. And what would it look like to meet yourself with compassion instead of force in this area? So if you're not doing what you already know to do, it's not a strategy problem, it's a story problem. You're operating from an old narrative that's ready to be released. Your job isn't to do more, it's to become someone who treats him or herself like you're already worthy of being well. If this resonates, the work I'm doing inside of my collectives, which are my membership programs, is where we go deeper, not just in theory, but in daily practice. So if you're ready to start over in this way, to have a reset, I'd love to have you join me. We've got 4 different collectives, and we'll make sure to link it in the show notes. You're welcome to reach out to hi@saltnightadvisors.com and we can get you set up. But I'd love to go deeper with you on this because it's not just the practical stuff, it's the mindset. If you've been listening and thinking, yep, I already know most of this, but I still am not doing it, I want you to hear me say it's not a knowledge problem, it's a mindset one. Like I mentioned earlier, Dr. Henry Cloud says that growth requires endings. You cannot build a new rhythm on top of old noise that you're refusing to clear. This means letting go of old identities, like the one that says you have to earn rest. For me, that was a big one. Or that health is only for people who look a certain way, or that stress is just a part of success. Mimi Bouchard, who I referenced earlier, reminds us that change starts when we start visualizing a new identity and emotionally rehearsing it until we feel more real than our excuses. And Dan Martell, he called out the truth that we don't want to admit. We sabotage when our external growth outpaces our internal safety. If you haven't upgraded your inner beliefs, you're going to burn down what you take all this time to build. So if you're stuck, it's not because you're lazy, it's because part of you doesn't feel safe being well. That's why I use EFT, which is that emotional freedom technique, or tapping. It helps me clear the charge. It helps me speak truth to my central nervous system and say, hey, we're safe now. We don't have to go back. So this episode isn't about copying my wellness routine. It's about helping you create one that fits your life, your values, and your next season and what your goals are. And most importantly, it's about becoming a person who actually believes that you are worthy of peace and vitality and joy. I know that I am worth that. So what's your next step? Maybe it's go get a glass of water. Maybe it's setting a boundary with somebody. Maybe it's finally unsubscribing from the idea that being exhausted all the time means you're doing something important. Whatever it is, I'm cheering for you. And if you want to go deeper, this is exactly the kind of work we'll be doing inside of our collectives. So come be a part of a group that's done pretending and ready to build something real. One breath, one shift, one day at a time. The work is worth it. So don't waste the chaos. Embrace it. Until next time.